Research has also shown that people post-surgical, if they have more anger, fear, frustration, they have a much higher rate of complications, rehospitalization, all of these things.
Today's guest is known for her groundbreaking discovery in mind-body healing, captivating audiences worldwide with her ability to demonstrate radical healing using only the mind, which is phenomenal. Her groundbreaking discovery stemmed from her own debilitating injury that left her disabled for many years and left without any hope of recovery. She began searching for a cure and found that her own mind actually helped her heal. After healing herself, Brandy Gillmore didn't just want to talk about her healing. She wanted to help others as well. And now she has a book out dedicated to helping others be their own cure. And her book is called Master Your Mind and Energy to Heal Your Body, where she talks more about the profound interplay between our thoughts, our energy, and our physical health. Brandy, thank you so much for joining us today and showing us again how we can be forever young and heal ourselves using the power of the mind.
We are very, very honored to have you today. Welcome.
Thank you. And likewise, I feel honored to be here with you guys. And I love the forever young feel and vibe. And it's just so true. You know, the more that we definitely take care of our health and our mindset and our body, it's just forever young is beautiful. So thank you for what you guys do as well.
Thank you.
Brandy, we're really, truly honored to have you here today. And before we really delve into all of your findings, we want to know how you recovered from a devastatingly painful condition that confined you to a wheelchair for 5 years. Can you share your experiences with us and our listeners, please?
Absolutely. You know, this is literally the last thing I ever thought I would be doing, is showing people how to heal themselves and either under medical equipment, all of that. But I used to do network engineering and operations and worked in telecommunications. And basically, I had an accident. And technically two. I had a car accident and then I had to fall. And I fell just wrong, just right, however you want to say it. But I ended up with a neurological disorder and in extreme pain and injured. And basically, my doctor said that there was nothing else they could do for me. And I was, you know, using a wheelchair, walker, cane to get around on a good day. On a lot of days, I didn't even make it out of bed. I was in so much pain. And when they said that there was nothing, you know, I mean, I had nerve ablations, infusions, injections, all of that. But when they said there was nothing, I just started searching outside the box for anything that I could find.
Love that. Do you have, was there a name for it? Was it like a complex regional pain syndrome? Was it?
Yeah. So that's what I had, CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome, or they also call it reflex neurodystrophy at the time.
Yep.
So it kind of has multiple names to it, but yeah, that and spinal end plate fractures and nerve lesions and et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, I was a mess. I was a train wreck.
Gosh, you know, at that point when you know, I'm imagining you see that glimmer of hope go out, you know, physicians are saying, you know, I'm real sorry, there's nothing else we can do. And at that point, you know, obviously very pivotal for you, how did you come to this next stage in your life that ultimately allowed you to heal?
I mean, to be honest, it was a bit of a roller coaster between I'm never going to get better, this is devastating, to okay, let me try this, let me try that, let me get another opinion, a second opinion, a 50th opinion, that kind of thing, and the next specialist. You kind of, you know, and then I got into this feeling of saying, okay, well, I just need somebody to invent something new. So I was looking in all these countries to find some new cure. And I was going to a research hospital and I got into the study and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to get my life back. And I literally counted down the days to the study. I felt like a kid before Christmas, just waiting for this study to happen. And the day came and they wheeled me in my wheelchair, got me all prepped for this procedure, the hospital. And a long story short, the doctor, he comes in and he looks at me and you can tell something's wrong. And he just says, you know, Miss Gilmore, I've reassessed your situation and we don't expect you to get better. You can't be a part of this study. And I was crushed. I felt like I swallowed a tennis ball. I just was trying to just choke back the tears and just, and then the next day I was at this place where I just didn't want to live. But what was pivotal was that I had this thought that came into my mind, what about the placebo? And it made me think, about the study, because it's a known fact that a certain percentage of people from a study can have some type of results from the placebo. And I thought, well, wait a second, is there a chance I could still get better? And then what happened is I started researching the mind. I found things like people with multiple personality disorder could have different ailments when they were in different personalities. They can have high blood pressure or diabetic sugar or pain in one personality or asthma, or even there was a woman who was blind in some personalities and not in others, and medically blind. And so I just thought, well, wait a second here. And so it just opened up the door to say, okay, what is happening in the mind?
Such an amazing concept, and it's so true. I've read the study that you're talking about, where you with the multiple personality disorder and having multiple different ailments, and it really shows you how powerful the brain can be. And that's why, look, even using VR, when you put that headset on, the brain adapts and assimilates, and to the point where you feel sensations that obviously aren't there in front of you. So, that part is really amazing. When you started through this process, I'm sure there are many misconceptions about, healing with the mind that keep people stuck and things like that. Can you name some of those things that really, resonated with you? I mean, as you're going through this process, you're reading all this research, and you're, for all lack of a better word, desperate. I mean, the idea is you're looking and searching for things that are out there. How did you weed out what was going to help and what wasn't? Or did you just try all of it?
I tried all of it. I made more mistakes probably than anybody. I mean,
Love that.
when I first started with the placebo, I thought it was all about belief. And so I was forcing myself and affirmations and gratitude, and I'm already healed, and visualizing and just forcing myself to believe, see, feel, I'm already healed, I'm already healed. And that was like my sole focus. And it wasn't working. And then I came across something called the open label placebo, which is where both the doctor and the patient both can see on the label that it is fake. They both know it's fake, and it still works.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, well, clearly it's not all about belief. And then also, going back to multiple personality disorder, I could see again, it's not all about belief. And so that made me delve in and say, okay, well, what else? And so that I would say is a misconception, or even mind over matter. I tried that too. Did not work. That, and then, I went on this journey of meditating for a long period of time, for at least 5 years of meditating and affirmations and binaural beats and frequencies and all of these things. And I could get my pain down at times, and I could feel a bit better, but it wasn't working to heal my body. And I would say that was another big pivot for me, is there was this point when I had a friend of mine, her aunt was dying of lung cancer. And so she asked me if I wanted to say goodbye. And I said, yes, of course. So she came and picked me up and took me over there. And as I said goodbye, there was this woman who had been in hospice for several months who was, in and out of consciousness. And I said bye to her. And then it kind of hit me. This is probably what I look like during the day, because I had been spending so much time in like this self-hypnosis, theta state, delta state, trying to frequencies and trying to just lay there and try to heal in this deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. And I thought, well, gosh, if this deep state of relaxation worked, then why isn't she healing? Why aren't other people in hospice healing? Why aren't people in a coma healing? And so that I would say, that creating a real change is key for real results. And I'd say that was key for me.
Wow, that's an amazing insight. It's one thing to read the information. It's another thing to apply it. And it's a third thing to have it actually be effective. That's, my younger sister actually suffers from CRPS following a surgery, and fell in the shower after the surgery, and now, has all the symptoms and has tried these things. So, there's a personal note here that I definitely am interested in hearing everything you have to say. I know that you recently launched a book. It's called Master Your Mind and Energy to Heal Your Body, where you essentially share the key to unlocking these types of results. People who've already read this book have mentioned that your way of healing isn't just a theory. Rather, it's a secret power and a miracle.
And it's interesting because what what John just brought up, I looked at a bunch of the stuff, and all your reviews for your books or your book is you have all great reviews. Everyone's very empowered by what you're providing to them. So I'm very intrigued to read it and also find out, again, what your secret power is or what your miracle is, because a lot of people talk about it. But again, I read the reviews, and you have empowered a significant number of people with this book, which is kudos to you. It's amazing.
As far as, again, that secret power, why do you think it was successful for you? Like, again, maybe you can delve into the fact of how you approached it, why it was effective for you, why you think it was effective.
Absolutely. So this is what I would say is that when everything wasn't working, I thought, okay, let me just simplify this. How can I see that the mind affects the physical body? Emotions. We've all heard that before. If somebody's embarrassed, their face turns red. Even emojis know this on our phone. So we're pretty aware of this. And panic attack, anxiety, something, racing heart, shortness of breath, sexual thought, sexual physical response, different for men and women, but there's an emotion-body connection. We know that. And of course, I thought, well, I'm going to need a lot more than emotions to heal my body. I'm a mess. But then I also started looking at things like broken heart syndrome, where somebody can die of a broken heart, or scared to death. Somebody being so scared, their heart can just stop. And so I looked at a few things. First and foremost, I said, okay, well, we know these 5 emotions affect the body. What are other emotions doing? What about rejection? What about abandonment? What about anger? What are they doing? What about disgust? Oh, wait, disgust does. If somebody feels disgusted, they could feel nauseous or want to vomit. So if these emotions are affecting our body, it didn't make sense that some emotions affect our body and the rest are just doing nothing. That didn't make sense. There were other things that were really helpful. For example, I started looking at it objectively and saying, okay, sure, but there are people who are stressed who even have PTSD who are not sick, and other people who have seemingly less stress who are sick. How does that work? And what I began to figure out was that it was a certain combination of emotions. And so different combinations of emotions affect the body. And a simple analogy would be, if somebody wants to make cake and they have flour, they can't make cake. But if they have flour and they mix it with other ingredients, now they have cake. And of course, illness is not cake. But point being is that, different ingredients, which was why I could look at somebody and say, okay, well, this is how it's possible for somebody with multiple personality disorder to have one ailment or certain ailments in one personality, another one with different ailments, and another personality with no ailments at all, no medically documented ailments. And so that was key. And to kind of give you an idea of the emotional ingredients, if you will, is, for example, somebody may have illness for a long period of time, and it may become part of their identity. So they may just identify as being somebody who is sick, in which case the body then will want to create it. So that's one ingredient, if you will. And so there are others, such as fear, or such as loneliness, lack of love. And so but not everybody has loneliness and lack of love. Not everybody has fear. So there's certain combinations. And that was key, is the more I understood the combinations, and then understanding, and then basically breaking it down and saying, okay, well, once we change those combinations, that's how I've been able to show it under medical equipment. I'll help people identify the specific emotion and shift it. And that's what's worked to get incredible results.
So would you say that's how you got tangible results with your mind-body healing, by actually taking that and then really saying, okay, these 2 emotions are causing this elixir in my body, in a sense, that's then creating this problem. Let me eliminate them and really, work hard in eliminating them. And is that how you felt that it actually worked tangibly to you?
Yes, and. So I would say yes, and. So thinking about the ingredients, another ingredient, if you will, is making sure that a person has genuine optimism. So if we even look at simply optimism, research has shown that people who are most optimistic can actually live about 15% longer, or even
Thank
after,
God.
right?
That's
uh,
great.
Yeah.
isn't it? Research has also shown from Harvard that emotional vitality, like optimism, can reduce heart disease by about 50%. Why is that important? Heart disease is a leading cause of death. But even there's been studies on research after surgery, where people who are more optimistic heal faster, or even
Have better results.
yeah.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I actually say that to all my patients. I say, you need to will it in. I'll do my best to give you the best results, but you have to actually go in there saying, I'm going to look amazing. You know, everything is going to go perfect, even especially for the cancer patients. But sorry to interrupt you.
No, to your point. And it also, research has also shown that people post-surgical, if they have more anger, fear, frustration, they have a much higher rate of complications, rehospitalization, all of these things. So kind of to me, to be honest with you, looking at all the studies and the medical journals, part of me, as I was reading it, kind of felt bad for any doctors in surgery. I'm going, well, wait a second. There's a lot more going on, especially, after surgery. You go, okay, well, the patient has a lot more influence than they're really understanding. And a lot of times even doctors will get blamed and be like, oh, well, it was your fault. Well, and it's, research shows that our minds, even cellular proliferation. Go ahead.
It's a very good point, because that's something I say all the time. I say it's 50% us, or 50% me, or 50% Dr. Lakey, and 50% you, because we could do the most perfect job. You can really alter how you heal. So I'm happy that it is documented scientifically as well. So all our listeners should really, an optimistic approach to life is amazing, but having a procedure of any kind, you have to think it's the best is going to come out of it, right? You can't go in there going, oh, this is going to come out awful, and expect the best, right?
Exactly. And even there's research on they'll create a chemical burn on somebody's skin for studies, and then even look at cellular proliferation even after that, and look at how fast wound healing, and the more anger or frustration or conflict that a person has, slower healing, and more optimism, faster healing. So it's incredible, the power of the mind. And so point being is, as you were saying, so is it about getting rid of negativity? Absolutely. And the ingredients. So kind of when we look at the ingredients, it's going, okay, well, is it in your self-image? If so, you're going to need to get rid of it. Do you have genuine optimism? Now, a lot of people identify, they say, well, I'm optimistic, but do you actually feel optimistic? Because I considered myself as an optimist even when I was feeling horrible and not wanting to live, going through my injury. I'm like, but I'm an optimist. I'm going to keep going and looking for the answer. So, emotions, that's key. And so it's the combination.
In talking about some of the tenets of the book, I know that there's a point at which you say that you need to go beyond belief and visualization to achieve healing. And how does your book really help readers truly understand that?
I would say a few things. I would say that it really emphasizes the power of emotion. I think it's in our culture, we've been so used to overlooking the importance of emotion. But when we stop and look at it for a moment, it's profound. I mean, we know that stress affects the physical body, and we've heard that so many times. And it's even written in the Bible 3,000 years ago that a merry heart is a medicine to the body. Ill thoughts will dry the bones. It's throughout history, and psychoneuroimmunology. I mean, we know that stress affects the physical body. We're just not doing anything about it. But I think that even more research that is showing, I mean, we can see, even research from Harvard suggests that autoimmune conditions may even be caused by stress. And so we can see it more and more. And so I would say it really emphasizes emotions, but it also emphasizes that we have to go deeper than we think we do to be able to get real results. And I would say that is a huge piece that is lacking in awareness. And so I would say the emphasis on that is very powerful.
Okay. How does energy play a role So when we talk about, there are many different ways that, as we say that word, many people, manifest an idea of something different. How does energy, to you, how does energy play a role in mind body healing?
Well, this is what's profound. Is I think you said it very well. As soon as we say energy, a lot of people have a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of times people just think it's a spiritual notion or a general thought, but research has actually shown that our bodies are emitting light energy. And I think that was just really profound to see that. And even the gentleman who discovered that, medical scientist in the 1920s, was nominated for the Nobel Prize 11 times for his discovery. And there's even research, there's a database that is maintained by Harvard and the Smithsonian under the NASA agreement. And it has research on this energy, biophotons, as recent as like a couple weeks ago. I mean, there are new studies. So I think most people don't really realize that our bodies actually emit energy. And what was profound is just that different illnesses emit different energies. And our mindset, there's a direct correlation between our mindset and our energy. So I think there's just so many ways. It shows that there's a lot more going on with our emotions than we realize.
I know that if I was listening to this podcast, the one thing I'd want to kind of ask you, because this all makes sense, it really does. But how do you utilize your mind to create this radical shift in your life? Because realistically, you could say it, and I can like pull the Joe Dispenza model and meditate, but there's got to be like an instruction booklet for people who want to do this, because it can't be that easy, right?
I would say both yes and no. I mean, we could say it can't be that easy. And then simultaneously, we could look at multiple personality disorder and see that they can have one illness in one personality and one in another, and chronic pain in one person. Like they can literally change illnesses that quick. So that's actually multiple personality, or technically it's now called dissociative identity disorder, has hugely impacted my work, because after I got better and healed myself, I thought I've got to be able to show this. And because of the results from multiple personality, that's what made me say, okay, I should theoretically be able to get results very fast. And that has helped me to do it under medical equipment, so you can actually really see it. Now, to your point, is it that easy? Yes and no, and yes and no. Because can we get results? And do I show results under medical equipment in 25 minutes where somebody releases their own pain? Absolutely. And a certain percentage of those will stay, and the pain never comes back. Some people will need to continue to make sure to reinforce that mindset. And like you said, if you were listening to this, what would you want to know? I would say a few things. I would say that one is that we have to think about emotions in terms of patterns. And, somebody may have a pattern of feeling guilty. Another person may have a pattern of feeling anger or shame or abandonment or resentment. So we really have to delve deeper into understanding how emotions work, because there are complexities. And one way to think about a complexity is if we think about repetition compulsion or reenactments, or law of attraction, we could call it, or attachment theory, whatever version we want to use. It is well known that emotions breed more of the same. And we can also recreate and reattract the same types of circumstances over and over. And so we get caught in this cycle of having an emotion, attracting more of it, having emotion, attracting more of it, and not realizing it consciously. And so I would say that the technical part is that we do need to break these emotional cycles and really repattern our emotions to be able to have lasting results. So I'd say that's one thing. I would say a simple hack that I did personally to start creating a radical change was this. I was a mess, beyond a mess. I was not in a positive place at all. Now, to reprogram the mind, something you'd have to do is create a new neural pathway, a new way of thinking and feeling and thinking and feeling. A simple way to think about that programming is the alphabet. If we only did it once, we would not have it memorized. So what would we need to do? We would need to program it in over and over and over and over to have it memorized in, which would ultimately mean for me to program in new emotions, I'd have to feel positive emotions over and over and over and over and over to program them in. And I would not have personally had access to positive emotions to just program them in like that.
Of course.
And so one simple hack that I started doing is I started listening to just specifically 2 songs. One was Beautiful Day by U2. Another one was Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves. And I would listen to the song and I would just focus on amplifying the emotion as much as I can. Now, at first, I sucked at it. That's a technical term. I could access the emotion this much, but I made it an exercise to work at it, to feel it, to feel it, to feel it. And I got good at it. And so the more I did it, the better I got. And I would do it over and over. And what happened is it started getting programmed into my nervous system. And so it started to create a more optimism, which, as we know, optimism can help speed up healing. So it was like accessing the different ingredients to be able to reprogram my mind to create that change, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Now, I know that, again, as a listener, I'd want to know something else that's always, especially for Americans, really important. How long is it going to take for me to heal myself? Because, again, we love drive-thrus, so we want this to go as fast as possible. And I know the answer, but I'd rather you say it, and I know it's going to be a whole, behavioral change in a sense, but what should people expect if they really want to heal themselves? And how long will it take?
This is what I would say. I would say I have worked with people time and time again to release pain in 20 minutes. And of course, it takes follow through. So in their case, results took 20 minutes, and then they just had to continue to reinforce it. Now, I've worked with people who've had tumors, who have been able to heal their own tumor, and they did it. I just showed them how to do it. Or a woman who went through my course, she was bedridden for about 8 years. She now can run, walk, fly.
That's great.
Not that
Phenomenal.
she can fly, but travel.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Fly away.
She's
You're teaching people how to fly?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this is amazing. I'm in. Yeah.
She wings. It's.
I'm coming over. Teach me how to fly.
But
Gosh.
for her, it took about 9 months for her to get that, for her to walk. But then 2 months later, she did her first marathon and walked it. And it was like the turkey trot thing with her family, like a Thanksgiving
That's
type.
amazing.
So it's sweet. Now, going back to the question of how long is it going to take? I think we've all tried to change somebody before who didn't want to change.
Mhm.
How easy is it to change somebody who doesn't want to change? Impossible.
It is.
Impossible.
So I would pretty much say if somebody doesn't want to change, it's impossible. But
Right.
otherwise, if somebody does want to change, it's incredible to be able to get results. And so I'll kind of, I think pictures are very helpful, right? So these are some case studies that I did that were published in this medical journal. And what I love is you can actually see the pictures. There we go. So this woman, it took her 22 minutes to kind of explain what this is. This is medical thermal imaging. And an easy way to describe this or think about this is if somebody has like a sprained ankle or an infection, we know it generates heat from the body.
Sure.
And so what medical thermal imaging does is it picks up on the heat patterns. This one took longer. This one took about 47 minutes.
Wow.
This one's kind of fun. And the reason this one's also kind of fun, so it took him 28 minutes and he went from a level 6 of pain to 0. Basically, he did it. I just coached him how to use his mind. And what was fun is that afterwards he goes, I'm really shocked that worked. I just came from a 10-day meditation retreat. And prior to that, a motivational seminar. And I obviously didn't know that going into it, but that was so perfect. What's fun about this is a few things is, first and foremost, you can see it's not just mind over matter, but also that it was really about identifying the specific emotion. So he had just been to a 10-day meditation retreat, positive thinking, motivational seminar, which was multi-day. I think it was a 5-day. I can't remember though for sure. And I like to be impeccable with my words. So I'll just say it was a positive motivational seminar. But point being is that that is important because it's identifying the specific emotion and changing that. And that's when I see people get real results. And so then it's forcing it.
For our listeners, I understand that you do healing work one-on-one. Is that correct?
Not a lot, not typically. I mean, I demonstrate it regularly on my podcast or under medical equipment. My real goal is this. There are 1.5 billion people who live in pain. There are even more than that who are sick and ill. And for me to go from a place of being told, that there's nothing else my doctors can do for me and wanting to give up and not live and live that way for 6.5 years and on morphine every day and all of these things to being 100% healthy. I can run. I haven't been in pain. I haven't taken a single aspirin in 14 years. I've been, my accident was 21 years ago. I've been healed 100% since 2010. Wow. It's kind of, this is the way I see it now is, imagine if everybody's walking around and let's say somebody's having anxiety. And so they have this panic attack and they don't know emotions are affecting it. So they're going, oh my gosh, check my heart, check my lungs, what's happening? Let's do this. And they have no idea that there's an emotional connection to it. And that's what's happening now is that we know stress affects the body, but we never think to actually change these patterns in our subconscious mind. And so, and so that's what I'd love. So do I work with people one-on-one? Sometimes, but not that often. A lot of it is really running classes or workshops or demonstrating it, or, I want I want to empower people, for everybody to know that we have this ability and to start using it. That's my goal.
That is amazing.
Wow. Listen, this is definitely insightful for us, and I know it is for our viewers and listeners as well. Other than this interview, where can listeners go to find more about you and your story?
My website's a great place, brandygillmore.com, and Gillmore has 2 L's. What's really cool is you can also see, just like we looked at these images, you can see me. There's like a see live healing, and I work with somebody under medical thermography, so you can actually see the scan change, which is fun. But I always want to tell people I make it look ridiculously easy. And a simple way to think about it is Michael Jordan makes it look like we should all just be able to make a slam dunk and hang from the basket. And I don't know about you, but I have to admit I can't do that. And but jump from like half court. And that's the point, is I make it look so stupidly easy that you go, part of your mind might be like, okay, I need more than this. This is ridiculous. And so I just always have that disclaimer.
If you like this video, you're going to love this one.
We live in the most toxic environment that humans have ever lived in. How do we apply the Pareto principle to detoxify 80% of your life? We make that happen for people. Once you do that, not only do you avoid disease, but you start feeling incredible too.